We're back for another episode of Horse Sense, our last one covering the Keeneland meet, of course. As always, I'm Bailey Armour, joined here with my incredible co-host, Scott Shapiro, as we discuss all things Keeneland heading into the very last Saturday of Keeneland racing until April. I know I'm a little bit sad about it. I know Scott is too, but that means that this Saturday is your last chance to take advantage of our 1 million first rewards points hit and split offer. On the late pick 4 at Keeneland, you'll have a chance on Friday as we film this, and then you'll have your very last chance on Saturday to get those rewards points. Now, taking a look at the fulfillment of these, Scott, we've had a couple people that have singled the pool and taken home that entire share of the rewards points themselves. So that's pretty impressive, in my opinion.
No, yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's been a couple of pick 5 carryovers and some pick 6s that have been challenging. So just piecing it together, you would figure that the pick 4 would be challenging as well. And then you take into account that it's just first bet and express bet customers. So it makes some sense, but it just proves to you that it's worthwhile. And, I think 1 million rewards points gets people a lot further than they think in that store. When, like I said, you can get wagering credits as well.
Yeah, wagering credits, iPad, you can decide what's more important to you. We all have our preferences. But the races that we'll cover today are in that late pick 4 sequence on Saturday. We'll talk about the race number 8, the grade 2 Fayette, and race number 9, the grade 3 Bryan Station. I will be generous and let you kick it off for us today, Scott. What do you think about the Fayette?
Men first in this 2024 October World.
Quality.
Mile and an eighth, grade 2, the featured event always on closing day. And the favorite in here is number 8, Hit Show, 2-1 on the line. Back-to-back wins for Brad Cox against graded stakes foes. Not really visually impressive, but the understandable favorite and the one to beat in here has a win and the only start at Keeneland. Clearly has some soundness issues, really has struggled to put more than 2 races together. We'll see if he can do that after the Fayette. But there's not a lot of speed in here, and I'm going to go back to my old friend. He has not won since January when he won a thrilling edition of the Fred Hooper down at Gulfstream Park, our Gulfstream Park. But he's run second in 4 straight races, but I don't see a lot of speed. He's got Luis Saez. He's stretching out to 9 furlongs, and I'm hoping he's got enough in him to get that final furlong with one of the better front-end riders in the land. So Tumbarumba for me with respect to Hit Show. What say you?
That's so because we picked the same horses again without talking about them. I don't know what kind of osmosis we have going on, but I'm also on Tumbarumba, the number 2 for the Brian Lynch barn under Luis Saez. Now, this is a horse that has not been outside the exacta or the trifecta in one race all the way back to Remington Park over a year ago. He consistently shows up, and even if he doesn't get that win, I think, for me at least, I'm going to play him in an exacta with Hit Show. I think that Hit Show is the classiest horse in this field, but it's just too short of a price for me to be all in on that one, especially when you have the number 2 at an attractive 6-1 morning line. Be bet down a little bit, but that's the one to beat. For me, that's the one that I'm going to pair with Hit Show. There's no early speed in this race at all. But the one that I wanted to talk about that I thought was a little bit interesting and wanted to get your thoughts was the number 9, Grand Aspen. He's making his first start all year since a dismal 11th of 12 finish in the Pegasus World Cup at Gulfstream in January, was in the Todd Pletcher barn before and is now under the care of Jonathan Thomas. He's been training in Kentucky for a little bit, and Jose Ortiz picks up the mount today, and he's 10-1 on the morning line. So I want to know where he's been hanging out, how his training routine has been going, and maybe he'll pull something crazy off.
Perhaps. I also had the thought that maybe Jonathan Thomas was using this race to prepare him for Turfway Park and the all-weather surface there. This one's really has run a couple of big races before he went to the sidelines, big enough to get him in the Pegasus. I remember this horse at Ellis, and he was 7-1 almost for Brad Cox as a second-time starter at Ellis, so not highly regarded. 14-1 at first asking. So this horse has really turned a corner. I need to see a race from him from his new barn off the long layoff, but he's the one that I'm worried is going to press Tumbarumba. I just think Tumbarumba's got sprinter type speed, whereas elongated sprints, whereas Grand Aspen's more of a stalker in a mile and eighth type races, or I'm hoping.
I think they'll press Tumbarumba like Grand Aspen will, and then Hit Show will come in at the end, which is why I'm going to play Hit Show and Tumbarumba in my exacta. But for me, that's the clearest way I can see this race shaking out. And it's a pretty good edition of the closing day feature.
Yep, not too shabby at all. Hopefully, my friend. I mean, I don't have a lot of favorite horses. Tumbarumba is one of the few. He just tries so hard. These horses that run second are usually not my speed to keep playing back, but he just tries so hard. It's not like he's losing when he should win, in my opinion. But we got the Bryan Station, which is the last stakes race on Saturday. I did want to mention we are sad about Keeneland leaving, but Sunday is a really fun card at Churchill where they'll race over the next several weeks for their fall meet. Lots of 2-year-old racing throughout the fall in Louisville, but the card on Sunday, I'm finishing up my handicapping now. I'll have a spot plays article out on that on the blog. But that's a really fun card, and there is good racing. They're actually back on the turf there at Churchill for a couple races on Sunday. We'll see how that goes. But speaking of the turf, we've got the Bryan Station, where Trickery is the 2-1 favorite in here. Bailey 5 for 9. We know this runner from winning both the Belmont Derby and the American Turf on a couple of the biggest weekends of the year in horse racing. Health Outside Post, ships back from Southern California, is the fastest horse, but he's worth taking the short price on.
I'm actually going to try to beat this horse. Now, I think he's a talented horse. I saw him run in the City of Hope Mile out at Santa Anita on September the 28th. There was nobody that was going to beat Johannes that day from the Timyak Teen Barn. That is an incredibly talented horse. And it's interesting to me that they weren't pointing this horse towards the Breeders' Cup Mile. I think that you have a lot of talented, like, European horses that are going to come in for this race. So this seems like an easier spot for him and a logical one at that. But with that 2-1 price, I'm going to try to beat him, actually, with the number 1 meet for trainer Rob Actress and Junior Alvarado. They have had a great run of it recently, 2 wins and a third in their last 3 matchups since June of this year. And this horse is 4 for 6 in his last 6 starts. He's an incredibly hard-knocking, gritty horse, consistently shows up for his connections, and he's 8-1 on the morning line today. Now, I want to point out in his past performances, his last start was in a $1.5 million race at Kentucky Downs that I was there for over the summer. Now, that race was run at almost 3 seconds faster than every other average fractional time in all of his races before, and he still finished third by only a length and 3/4. So if he can run at that pace on that grueling course with all of its ups and downs, this flat Keeneland straight mile, especially with that inside post, I'm all in on Neat.
Well, using flat times at Kentucky Downs, we'll talk about on another podcast whether that's useful or not. But otherwise, Neat is a neat horse, and he likes to win. He's got a really favorable inside draw, and he comes out of, like you said, well, race that appears pretty good. With Trickery, I think, you combine what you said in terms of skipping the Breeders' Cup, plus he's a 3-year-old. He tried taking on older in that race out in Southern California, which has Johannes, who's going to be a legitimate player against the Europeans out there, but he was easily handled by that horse. So Grand Motion, probably, they seem to know what this horse is. They keep spotting him in realistic spots instead of maybe always against the best of the best, even though he ran in some grade 1 in the grade 1 Belmont Derby and won. I like a horse coming out of the $1.5 million race that you referenced, the Kentucky Downs. That's the Gun Runner. Somehow it's the Gun Runner at Kentucky Downs.
Of course it is.
But I like Hershey. Hershey has done nothing wrong for Helen Pitts. This is a son of Twirling Candy that's won twice in a row to kick off his career, and then was in the mix in that race with Neat and Brilliant Birdie, who won. Brilliant Birdie won, but both Neat and Brilliant Birdie a little bit further off the pace. I thought they went pretty quick. Hershey had a little bit of traffic issues and still split the 2 of them. So anything near 12-1, I like Hershey quite a bit to keep running his race. He's just done very little wrong thus far. Brilliant Birdie, I'll mention. He broke slow in that race and still won, but it was a favorable race shape. And, just seems to be managed kind of typically like a Cherie DeVaux horse. Smart, gradual, not throwing to the wolves if it's not one of their absolute top runners. But he looks like a talented homebred for Klein Racing.
Yeah, of any of the spots in this pick 4 sequence, I think this is the one that's definitely most right for an upset. So who knows? Maybe it'll be Hershey. Maybe it'll be Neat. Maybe Tricari will just completely prove us wrong. Who knows?
Hershey Kiss.
There you go. There you go. Not Hershey Kiss, but maybe he'll give you one at the windows. We'll see.
Yeah,
well, that's all we've got for you this week on Horse Sense. Make sure you play that late pick 4 on Express Bet and First Bet to win your share of 1 million First Rewards points and we'll see you next time. I'm Bailey Armour, and he's Scott Shapiro.